the first thing on the agenda would be to take public comment. The board takes public comment on all items on the regular agenda. Public input on a regular agenda item will be taken at its appropriate discussion. Public input on an item on the agenda or consent agenda may be identified and requested for consideration by the board at this time. The board may request an item to be placed on a future agenda or for consent agenda item to be moved to the regular agenda for public comment. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move over to the consent agenda. At this time, we'll consider approving the September 1st, 2022 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Now we'll go into the regular agenda. Presentation of the monthly financial report and events calendar.
Just wanted to go over, first of all, good morning to everybody. Thank y'all for coming. First, we want to go over the Civic Events Fund 410 balance. Right now, it's showing at $1,354,000. This does not, and then of course we'll say just a restricted for your facility use fees is down to $9,636. We did have probably $360,000 plus that was in there, but of course that is going to our improvements for the convention center. And the Fund 410 does not reflect an additional $350,000 that need to be subtracted from there that hasn't been taken out so far for the remaining balance for the renovations for the convention center. So it does read that, but we really are sitting a little bit over $1 million right now in that account. For the calendar in October, we had a very busy October. If you can see, we had a total of 104 events to be setting up, bookings. Convention Center had 25, Coliseum had 19, River Stage had 2, Paseo had 8, Pecan Creek Pavilion had 12, East Mez was 19, Farmers Market was 13, Indoor Arena was 6. In November, we're sitting at 53 events. Convention Center had 5, or has 5, Coliseum has 11, River Stage 1, El Paseo 3, Pecan Creek Pavilion 9, East Mez 15, Farmers Market 2, and the Indoor Arena is at 7. Any questions on the calendar and on financial report?
On the Paseo, how much revenue does it generate? I know it's kind of lumped in with the other ones. How much do we rent that out for? Do you remember?
It just depends on ticketed event. I mean, it starts at, I believe, $100.
Pretty inexpensive, huh?
Yes, sir. If on the, so for the Paseo, and it's tied in with the farmers market as well, but you can see that the revenue that was over there, it was close to like $16,000 was brought in. That includes the farmers market as well, so I don't have a.
That's what I'm saying. I know it's lumped together. Do we monitor any use of it that's not going through the city? Like people just going, hey, we know it's there, let's go do some quinceañera dancing.
We just can't stop anything from, I mean, people do practices there all the time. We pass that, but when you pass by and you'll see people that's out there just practicing them. It is public, I would imagine, it is public property. So we can't kick them off of being there, I don't believe. Did you get the question? The question basically was, do we monitor it for people that just go over there to use it without doing an agreement with us? So some people go over there and have practices for quinceañeras.
Pavilions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no. I mean, the thing is, they can't have exclusive use for it. I can't see, unless the board wants to change policy on that, I can't see not letting folks be there.
We bear no liability if somebody were to get hurt during one of these things.
I speak to the legal side of it.
As long as we don't leave like a known hazard or danger that's there, if there's something there that we know that could be dangerous, hazardous, and we know it's there, we don't mitigate it, correct it, our liability is low.
Hey, Sid, I have one question. On the Coliseum, the revenue side, so the adopted budget was 211.5, and then we increased that revenue budget to 338, and then we came in short 112. What's the reason for the increase?
I'm still trying to get some confirmation on how those numbers have changed up. I do know that it did change from August 30th fund balance, and then it read differently in September. So I am still trying to get some type of what did take place, because we weren't at 67% in the revenue. We were higher than that.
Right.
And now it's reading at 67%. So I am trying to get some type of clarification on why did our numbers dwindle down.
Like, yeah, perception is that it's under-realized by quite a bit and underperformed.
Yes, and that's not, if August, I believe it showed at like 80% or somewhere that we were around. Now it just went down to 67, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready to move on? Okay. Next item is discussion of the Bly Arena long-term rental option and recommending any related matters.
All right, so we have a proposal for the Bly Arena. This, like you said, is a discussion of the Bly Arena long-term rental options and recommending any related matters. If you all haven't been to the Bly Arenas, is next door to the Coliseum. Just wanted to put up a few pictures of the Bly Arena. Of course, we also use it for storage. We do have several items that's back there that we're still getting rid of some of the storage that is back there. But we do use the backside for storage because we do need some type of space. The Bly Arena details, it is located at 160 East 43rd Street, 4.2 acre tract. Arena is 8.96 acres. Total square footage is close to 58,000 square footage, approximately 20,000 square feet of arena dirt. We do have 16 110V plugs, 78 stalls, electricity, and it's well water over there, and we do have a concession stand that our in-house team did do construction and get it up to par. We also have 8 holding pens as well. The rates and fees that we have at the Bly Arena, as you all can see, starts at $100 per day, 8 a.m. to midnight for non-commercial, non-ticketed use, $150 per day, 8 a.m. to midnight for commercial, non-ticketed use, $200 a day for 8 a.m. to midnight versus 10% of the gross sales. That's like if we were doing some type of event out there, which we have not. And in my tenure, we have not had any of the $200 or $300. Versus 10% of gross ticket sales. Also, the horse stalls, we do charge $10 per stall per use a night. Camper hookups are $20 per plug-in per use daily. There is a 10% discount on the facility for Monday through Thursday use only if the rental is all day. Up to 50% discount for move-ins and move-outs, and the client must provide insurance. These are all basic terms that we have for all of our venues, and require uniform security at all alcohol-related events. Any additional staffing, it is $15 per hour with a minimum of 4 hours. So our annual revenue for the indoor arena is in FY20 was only $1,800. We only had 20 days rental. That was around the time of COVID. FY21, we were at $5,685. 54 days were rented out, and then for FY22, it was only $3,195 with 31 days. SASRA does receive the rental of the Bly Arena for Bid and Spur at the end of October, and of course they also use it from March 17th to about April 22nd for us this year for the rodeo. We have 2 parties that are interested in a long-term rental for this for the facility. We have ASU rodeo program, and we also have Wade. I just forgot your name. Scavassa. who also is interested in renting out a long-term rental for the Bly Arena. I would like to let him come up and speak if both of those parties, so you all can hear, his side of, and we can just go from there first.
Quick background for some of y'all who are new to the board. This facility is not a facility that we bought or we built. We basically just inherited it back in the early 2000s. There was a drainage issue in the Coliseum parking lot around the fairgrounds, and we acquired this property to do that detention pond that's on that southeast corner. And that the barn came along with the purchase of that property. That's how we got it. But I think we're open to the idea of a long-term rental. Oh, also, did you mention the rodeo does use? Was that on there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Wade Scavaza.
Get a little closer to the mic.
My name is Wade Scavaza. We are interested in renting it long term to try and bring in more, mostly like junior high, high school, or younger youth events to the San Angelo area. Both my daughters rodeo. My oldest daughter's in the junior high rodeo, and we run with several families from the San Angelo area, Cristobal, Miles area, and we go to rodeos all over the state. And a lot of times it's 3, 4, 5 hours one way. And every time we get there, we run into individuals that are from the San Angelo areas, surrounding areas, El Dorado, Sonora, Cristobal. And we rented the Bly Arena back, I believe it was in September, for a breakaway training, and had a actual trainer come in that was helping with the young kids and teaching them how to do the sport. Our whole big goal would be to have a practice at least once a week, and let the children come in and let them learn the sport, bring the sport in a little bit heavier and thicker to the San Angelo area. We don't have it. It's not as thick here as it was whenever I grew up. I was born and raised and graduated from Water Valley. My wife teaches in Sterling City. My kids go to school at Sterling. I've been on the Sterling County Rodeo Association now for 6 years, and we have a open or uncovered arena out there, and we do some events out there, but being uncovered this time of year, nobody really wants to go to an uncovered arena and freeze to death. So what we're wanting to do is start putting on events. We'd like to have and focus mostly on the youth deal, but also bring in team ropings. We would love to have at least 2 events a month, whether it be a breakaway roping, a goat tying, team roping, whatever it might be, barrel race. And that's kind of where we're at on it. We'd like to see the Bly Arena get fixed back up to where it was whenever I was growing up. I mean, growing up there was a team roping or a calf roping, rough stock. There was something there that happened there every weekend, just about. And we'd like to see it come back to that. And that's whenever we rented the arena, we saw that it had kind of fallen down. The restrooms were out of order. Lots of other things that could be used up and could be brought in to where it was up to quote par, and have. A lot of these roadies we go to, there's hundreds of families that come in from all over the place, and like I said, there's easily 20 to 50 families that are right here close to San Angelo that we meet up. We went to a rodeo 2 weeks ago in Seguin, and there was probably 15 families from Sonora, El Dorado, San Angelo area, and we were visiting with them, and they were gung-ho on board if we could get something done. All right, 100% we'll back you. We will come help. We will come do everything we can. That's just kind of where we're at on it.
Do you have a plan as far as how many events you would be hosting in the first year?
The first year would be kind of a experimental deal, obviously. It would be a interesting thing to find out, and that's where it would just kind of be a hit and miss thing. But we would like to see, first 6 months, see at least one breakaway or something of the sort every month, at least one big event.
One
And then-
every month?
Yes,
You
sir.
think you could have an event, once every month for how long? For the year, for 6 months?
I think for 6 months would be pretty easy.
Okay.
It would be hard to do something, say and try and do it for January, just because of the time constraints.
Right.
And then with Christmas and whatnot being around. But I think, say push it out to March or so, where we could start doing it and have the time. I think an event a month would be very easy.
Start in March of 2024?
Correct. And then as far as like practices and stuff, we'd start doing it immediately.
Right away?
We could take on to it. We'd start having practices and bringing in locals that are looking for a spot to practice where they're not freezing to death. And like right now, everybody's in constraint of time. I'm sure you all know with it following dark, it's hard to try and rope or do anything in the rodeo arena without any lights. And most arenas around here don't have lights. So
So this agreement would start in March of
I would love to start it.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you would want to start it now and go through how long? For a year?
For a
2
year.
years?
Yes,
For
sir.
1 year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then, if we could revene at 6 months or 3 or 4 months and say yes, look at doing it for a 5 years or even longer. And if it's something that really works out, we'd love to see the option to purchase it.
Right.
Kind of out of my element here, so.
Okay. Can does anybody else have any questions on the?
Well, yeah, so we toured this facility 2 or 3 years back, and
Yes, sir.
you're right, the restrooms were bad, the bleachers. There was always the question of who was gonna work the dirt, okay? But, of course, with ASU being interested and you being interested, then maybe that gives us an opportunity to improve the facilities a little bit, because you're right, it has fallen down quite a bit. And, of course, you gotta have working bathrooms or put porta potties out there or something.
When we did the training, we just rented a porta potty and put it out there, but we have all the equipment. And I'm saying we have family members that we go to Christoval and rope at their place and they come to ours. And we have all the equipment to get it back up and the knowledge to get it back to where it needs to be.
So me personally, yeah, I would definitely entertain to see what the specifics of the agreement would be, to see if that's something that we can do, if we do it long-term and raise a little bit of revenue to maybe do some improvements out there that are badly needed. So I would definitely.
We would like to make it, if we could come into an agreement where we could rent it long-term, that, like the restrooms and lighting, any kind of a major expense that would be beneficial to the property, that we could do a split cost on it or a reimbursement or a trade-off for the rental, something along those lines. We've been doing this our whole lives, so there's lots of stuff we saw when we rented it that, gates that were broke, hinges that were broke, just little stuff that makes big differences whenever people show up and go, oh, wow, yeah, we want to come back here and do this. And then whenever you find the people and you find out they're personable, that you're visiting with them, like, oh, you're doing the best you can, like, they want to come back.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, and this may not be the time or place for it, but, I have a lot of questions, but I think maybe you're just looking for conceptual, agreement or consensus that we would want to move forward, and then we'd let Sid negotiate that, I would assume, but.
I don't know that we need a formal recommendation. The situation is, and I was hoping ASU would be here, we've been corresponding with them, and I know President Hawkins has met with Daniel, city manager, a couple of times about their possible long-term rental. To be honest, they're the 800-pound gorilla in the room. We're going to have to take direction from the city manager, city council, as to which party to work with. So we don't want to set y'all up for any kind of situation where you have to make a choice here. But if y'all are okay with the concept of a long-term rental at that facility, we can move forward. Either party.
Yeah.
Myself and
Yeah,
our
I'd agree with that.
our cousin that's talking about this dude, we tried reaching out to those individuals, and we couldn't get a response from the last couple of days.
But it's not something that we can coordinate and have both parties.
Well,
We
hopefully
were hoping for that, but we were not able to reach the individuals that we had contacts for, that Carl had given us, and we weren't able to make contact with them to visit, just bad scheduling, I guess.
I'm sorry, who would that be?
There's two individuals, Cooper Hogg with the LCRA and Jamie Myers with ASU. We have those contacts. I shared those with him. He's tried to reach out, but ideally, I hope they could work together.
And I really honestly think we could possibly. I don't see an absolute negative or an absolute positive either way. I would like to hear. I was hoping that they would be here so they could pitch what they're thinking as well.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend if Sid can get with him and see if he can coordinate something. There's power in numbers if we can get something coordinated with both, and then I think that's going to be the best of both worlds.
Okay.
And then Sid can come back with us and see what he's come up with.
Do you see any issues with the time frame that others are? You've got it on that slide,
Where the rodeo club uses it.
right?
For
Would you just work around those dates?
just work around them and visit. I would like to think that. I mean, I've been heavily involved in the stock show and rodeo as well. It doesn't get used a whole lot. I think it's more of a try to keep from a conflict. And I would think that we could work together with them. I've got several friends that are large up in the rodeo that I think we could make conversations and figure out a way to, if just not have a big event or, collaborate with them and don't do it on this day or do it on this day. I think we could work around that.
It can be a great partnership. Like you said, trade agreement, work something out to where, you guys kind of help to fix it up and we generate some revenue to help take care of some big ticket items. And it's not doing anything for us really right now. So I think it's a great idea.
Not only that, it brings visitors to our city, which makes our
Economic impact.
Yes, ma'am. We just got back from Stephenville this weekend, and there was over 400 girls from 16 and under that were at that roping. I mean, it was a lot of fun. That was held at the Tarleton College Arena, which is it's a lot fancier, but it's a very similar concept as far as location and whatnot.
I think the merchants of the city would be very happy.
Yeah, it's like bringing in a big baseball tournament. I mean, it's just a different sport. I mean,
I don't know what it would turn into, but I've been on the Sterling County Stock Show or Sterling County Rodeo Association. I mean, I've seen that go from 100 kids to 200 plus kids in just a few years, and we stay right there around that 200 number, and it's only 2 weekends a summer is all it is. It's the only thing we put on there with volunteers and whatnot.
Sounds like a great idea. So there's no action on our end other than just,
I mean, you could make a recommendation to pursue a long-term rental.
Do we need to take a vote on a recommendation and move forward then?
But let
Do-
city
do we
council
have a-
direct us with which party to work with.
can I get a motion for?
Yeah, I make a motion that we go ahead and go into negotiations with Sid and move forward to see what we can coordinate.
Second. We have a second and a motion. It's approved. All for approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? None? Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Thanks. So the next item is the discussion or consideration of a resolution securing, actually should be July 3rd, rental of the Bill Ayler Memorial River Stage for the next 3 years instead of 5, and recommending any related matters. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sid.
I seen the arrows, Brian. My bad. All right, so I'm going to speak on the Star Spangled Banner concert. There's a resolution securing the July 3rd rental of the Bill Ayler Senior Memorial River Stage for the next 3 years. Downtown San Angelo is requesting sponsorship for this event, which would entail the following: the River Stage rental, which would normally be $500 for the rental, up to 10 employees, staff to assist with monitoring facilities and cleanup, which is at a cost of about approximately $2,000. Move-in day costs would be $250 to move in. Sound system and portable facilities is what they would be moving in at that time. That's the only piece that would actually be coming from our side as Civic Events. The city of San Angelo and San Angelo hosts will receive their respective percentages of all concession sales. So I wanted to give you all a little bit more in the background of what our concession sales was. In 2021, concessions revenue our portion was $1,840. And in 2022, concessions revenue was $874. This amount doesn't include the additional sales and liquor tax that does also come out from that as well. Now, I did speak with San Angelo hosts as well in regards to this event actually being a BYOB event plus opening it up for as well as beer sales. And I'll just mention what they all brought to me. They said there's a license that they can apply for that allows beer to be brought in and beer cash bar to be set up at the time of the event. The downfall that BYOB brings is the liability on the city and San Angelo hosts increases greatly as there is no control on how much alcohol is consumed by the guests and the community safety becomes an issue. San Angelo hosts is not inclined to set up a bar service where BOB is allowed for liability reasons listed above. Furthermore, if it was a ticketed event, including selling tickets for tables or VIP areas, as per City Council, BYOB is not permitted. So wouldn't be able to sell VIP tables or of that magnitude, then that would consist of it not being a BYOB event. And I think Dale are you going to come down and you want to speak from there? You want to speak from this
I'll
side?
just speak from here.
You want to speak from that
if you
side?
don't mind. So the last couple of years, we've been challenged to put this event together because of last minute.
And I can clarify that. For several years, the city had an agreement with the symphony, San Angelo Symphony, for in-kind support for their Pops concert. And because of the pandemic, they were unable to host that event. And I think the year after that, we still had the agreement in place, but the symphony was still trying to figure out if they were going to be able to host it or not. And that's why it came down to pretty close to actually doing the event. I don't think the board has considered this item before because it happened so quickly. Now, there is no agreement with the symphony anymore for the Pops concert, so it kind of opens things back up for the River Stage for an event for the 4th of July. So that's why we have time to have the board consider it, and that's why we're bringing it forward to you. My understanding is the request, what's been provided before, I think pretty much what Sid presented has been provided with City Council's approval through resolution the last 2 years. And so they're asking for the same thing. The only difference this time is to let them lock in the river stage, use the river stage for the next 3 years, 2023, 2024, 2025.
And so you're not paying the standard fees that anybody else who would rent it. That's what you're asking for, is for those
That was
fees to
similar
be
the
waived.
symphony and
That's
the
what
Pops
we've,
concert.
that's what we've done for the last 2 years.
And what downtown San Angelo got for their event is basically the same thing that the symphony got, pretty much, I think.
Yeah, it
I
was.
can't think of any differences.
And explain to me again, so is this going to be a ticketed event, non-ticketed event?
Non-ticketed.
Non-ticketed, so there'll be no
It's free.
VIPs or anything
It's
like
free.
that, like there used to be?
So why do we waive it for this kind of event as opposed to some of the other events? What makes this event different, and why should we waive fees and make this kind of
Well,
arrangement?
The community has traditionally had a 4th of July event on July 3rd with the symphony. And it's that event was basically grandfathered, I would say. But it did get City Council's official approval eventually. And so I think we can make exceptions for some events. Event is a national holiday. And we've kind of had this event, and downtown San Angelo stepping in to keep it going. So I think it makes sense to do it for this activity.
Just to give you a little bit of background, after we learned that there was not going to be a July Pops concert, we were asked to step in and put together a concert, and we had 5 weeks to do it. And our cost was about $50,000. We had to raise $50,000 in 5 weeks because it is a July 4th concert. And the $50,000 that I'm talking about includes the in-kind contribution that the city supports, not only us, but it also did the symphony when it was doing it. Their costs are a lot higher. In 2009, I was the chair of the July Pops concert for the symphony, so I'm pretty cognizant of what those cost expenses are. And so our biggest part of that was the fireworks, which is the most expensive piece of it. And that's coming up with the 50 grand in 5 weeks was miraculous in itself, and we were able to, we'll pull it off. This year, we were probably 8 weeks out. We had about 8 weeks' notice, but we were cognizant to the degree that it wasn't probably going to happen, that the symphony would not put the concert on. And so we started doing outreach earlier, trying to set up with the stipulation that if we were able to put it on, would they sponsor the event? And we were able to accumulate the money to do that. But the city contribution is critical for us to be able to at least break even on these events. And that's where we're at.
And, okay, so really, this is gonna be a city council agenda item anyways. What amount comes out of your budget for paying anything?
It doesn't technically come out of our budget, it's just that we'll be losing the revenue of the river stage rental.
You have employees that are that you're supplying for it,
Yes.
so that you're out of pocket for that, right?
Yes, but I don't know how many employees we can actually be able to extend
the
over
value-
because, I mean, we have events at the convention center, we
Oh,
have
and
Coliseum.
just to answer my question, what makes this different from any other event? Say even I put on the Blues Festival, I produced the Blues Festival. I know exactly how much it costs to produce stuff on that river stage and what work is involved. So so what you're saying is what makes this particular event different from any other event is the fact that it's a national holiday. That's the primary thing that you guys are throwing out there as a reason to do this for this particular event as opposed to other events. And where does it stop with everybody asking for this?
That's a good question, but
Because I'm a nonprofit too, and I have to put all that money out of my pocket, and I give away scholarships. And so what's to stop any other organization from expecting this kind of thing? That's why I want to clarify why we are making this exception.
The pride of San Angelo, because it's been going on for so long.
yeah,
And that's fine. I
Yeah,
mean, these
no,
are
I-
going to be questions that are going to be asked by other people too, I think.
yeah, and when we take such a resolution to council, we have to show some public benefit. And the public benefit is that another organization is hosting the national holiday event.
Okay, and that's, I just want
City doesn't
clarification
have that,
because
the city doesn't have that expense.
there's a
lot
million
of-
organizations that would love to benefit from the same kind of agreement. And so we need to be sure that when we're doing these kind of things, that we have a really clear and exact reason, I think, why we're doing it, and so that when other people come asking for it, why? And we
It's
have a
because
good
it's a
succinct
national
answer.
holiday.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we stepped up the first year, and subsequently, we are working with an organization that's going to hopefully give us a long-term sponsorship to cover the cost of the fireworks.
And again,
which
it's
is the big
nothing about
deal.
this particular
No, I
event
know,
that
and
I'm questioning, it's just
because
policy.
we do other events at the River Stage, and we pay the price and do everything else just like everybody else.
You know, to answer your question, so over the years when we've gone through and reviewed policies and fee structures, we always run into that exact same question because we ran into the situation where we give a discounted to nonprofits and we ran into that exact same thing is why do we give it to some and not to others and all that. So you're right. I mean, there's two sides of the coin.
No, and I'm not saying that that's wrong, I'm just saying that, when we're asked the question, we need to have,
Guidelines.
yeah, I mean, we need to be able to justify these decisions, and so I want to make sure that when we're doing this, that we have a clear defining reason why we're making these exceptions, that's all. It's not about this event in particular, I'm just talking in general.
Well,
You
I
have to
think
justify a public
this-
purpose. But another thing is that it's very common for a city to bear the expense of an event like this for 4th of July. And in this case, the city won't have to bear that expense. We just provide in-kind expense. So it is a benefit to the city for not having to
Great answer,
do
that's
that.
all I was wanting to know, is do we have that answer? Because that question's going to get asked a lot, I think.
There used to
Another
be a
thing,
corporate sponsor? Wasn't there a corporate sponsor for the 4th of July Pops?
Yes.
But we don't have one
Well, we're working on it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's working on, I mean, ever since COVID, that kind of sponsorship has gone way down. We're having that problem too, so I get it.
And I think, then there's the 4th of July, and I know that they reach out to corporate sponsors about that. I would recommend you talking to my GM about that.
Okay, thank you, I will.
And another thing, and then there's people, I guess, who sell food at the River Stage side, right, the concession stand. San Angelo Host does that, or somebody else is doing that?
San Angelo Host sells food.
They're gonna sell food, okay. And then, I'm gonna say probably more people sit on the other side of the river than at the River Stage.
And although he sells food, we don't stop people from coming in and bringing their own food too as well, I don't believe.
Okay. Because it's a non-ticketed event. Okay, all right, so we don't monitor the food sales that is going on over there.
No, they just need to coordinate with the city where to set up. Because you talk about like the Neffs area.
Yes.
Carlo doesn't have the exclusive for the sale of food and soft drinks there. He does have the exclusive to sell alcohol, but there won't be alcohol sold on that side.
I think in
so what
past.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, in past years, the church has set up food trucks or some type of food vendors there in their parking lot, which is a private parking lot.
Private. They just had to have a health license for that.
And we don't get any revenue from that.
That's kind of where I was leading to. In other words, are they just all making the money and they're benefiting from?
And also, while we're talking on that subject, the museum does a major event that brings in a lot of dollars that they don't participate in providing any kind of source of revenue for.
And the city has hosted a splash party at the pool right above.
Right. In fact, that's one of the things that we're going to try to really promote and get the city to do a blowout thing that they could generate revenue for at the municipal swimming pool. We really want to encourage that to happen.
And so I just want to remind everybody, of course, that we are an advisory board. This item will probably go to council, and just from what I'm hearing, council is probably going to be going forward. So whatever recommendation we make, it's going to go on city council agenda, and it's probably going to pass.
Well,
But we will make a recommendation.
okay. Well, I mean, if y'all want to have a discussion, Dell could recuse himself.
Yes.
Yeah, he would have to
could
recuse
have-
himself. I agree with that.
Some discussion without him here and a vote without him here if you wanted to.
So what are the stipulations on that? Because there's been quite a bit of things that go on different boards and conflict of interest, and I think it's a great thing, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to get this thing squashed because you're up here promoting it and could potentially sway other members on their decision-making, and what are the guidelines on that? What can we be discussing right now? What can we push forward with a potential vote? I mean, we don't,
That's what I'm saying. If y'all
we don't
want
have a quorum if he's not in this vote. You understand that too?
you will. They will have a quorum, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
Four.
Okay,
I
sorry.
think they're.
No, if he cannot. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I wasn't counting myself. Math is tough.
I think he should
Okay,
recuse
sorry.
himself. If y'all want to have additional discussion and a vote, he should recuse himself because he does get a salary from downtown San Angelo.
Right.
I don't know if there's a connection between the money raised at this event and his salary, but
No, I
there is
right.
potentially a conflict of interest here.
I don't think there's a financial conflict of interest necessarily. I just don't want this thing to get squashed because he's sitting here discussing it. I don't want to hinder it, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Because I think it's a great thing. I think it always has been. But I was on the other side of this when it was run by my wife for several years.
Right.
So I think it's a fantastic thing. I think it's great that someone's taking it on. So I just don't want it to get squashed. So whatever we need to do to make a recommendation or not, however this board wants to vote, but I think we need to be cognizant of what we can and can't do.
Right. So at this point, if we make a motion, we have any discussion, then we can just do it amongst us four and not with Dell's input at that point.
All right, I just wanted to clarify that because there's been a lot of things out in the media and recorded, and just want to make sure we're not stepping on those toes.
Okay, so going forward, Dell, if you recuse yourself on this, if we want to discuss the matter further, we can continue discussing, or we can make a recommendation to City Council on how the Civic Events Board feels about the this agreement. You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, sure. I move that we approve the sponsorship of this. And Again, this is just the stage rental portion, correct, Sid?
Rent the stage rental,
Personnel.
and the day before too as well, the move-in date and staff.
There's a lot more expense to this. There's street and bridge, there's fire, there's PD. I mean, there's a lot of things that council's gonna have to agree to, but what we're voting on is, I guess what I need to clarify in my motion is to sponsor the stage rental and some staff to help move in and clear out
Move-in costs, that's it.
and moving costs. Okay. So as long as that's clarified, that's my motion.
Because you can't make the recommendation on PD, right, is what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not making, I just want to clarify that.
Just
The
on our
only
civic
portion is-
events.
That's in my motion is the rental, the staff move in and move out. And what was the other?
Staff, the extra day.
So I think we've clarified our motion that we have for the river stage rental, the staffing, and then the other $250 on the next slide. The moving day cost. So do we have,
Yes.
okay, so we have a second on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so our recommendation to go ahead and send that to city council with our blessing is passed.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is discussion of McNeese Convention Center improvements and recommending any related matters.
All right, so let's talk about the McNeese Convention Center renovations. So currently, right now, we're waiting on permits to be filed by the project manager. Of course, you all know that we're working through Basic IDIQ on this item. I do have two representatives from Basic IDIQ. They can actually give us a brief synopsis on everything that's going on right now. But so far, we're doing a sewer line, tile, carpet, and vinyl replacement. It's on schedule to be complete by January 1, 2023. That light bill gets us every time. We're working with Parks on landscape project too. That's including the irrigation and tree planting. If you notice, if you look at the other side of the convention center, if you go check it out, there's a lot of holes, and you know they've dug up a lot of the old trees that we had out there, and we're working with them to get a landscape plan together to be able to present as well. And also, we're working on the window tinting, installment of security cameras, and ceiling tile replacement in the north meeting hallway, which should be also complete by the middle of January as well. Pictures of inside of what the convention center looks like right now. It's pretty beat up, but this is also with the hallways, as you all seen when you were coming in as well. So I'll just go ahead and turn it over to Terrell Thomas. He's who's been the project manager for this as well. Mr. Gene Bailey also has been assisting with this project, and I'll just let them give you all a overview of everything that's going on right now and where we're at in the process as well. And if y'all have any questions, let me or him, we'll answer it.
I am Terrell Harris, the Basic IDIQ. We are doing the renovation project here. Currently, we are waiting on a permit to be approved by the city. We've got the demo done. They don't typically require permits for the demo part of it. It's the putback. So we've got as far as we can go until we get their approval on that. Originally, they were asking for an engineered drawing for the repairs to the sewer line. We've got an engineer to sign off and say he doesn't recommend a drawing, that it's just a typical repair, that it would have been no different if someone in a residential situation called to repair a sewer line. They've agreed that's okay, so, and the next day or two, we should have the permit approved so we can move forward with the putback. Our tentative dates, we're about a third of the way done, or we lack a third of the demo for the flooring. That'll take us about another day to do. We have approximately half of the sewer line exposed. We found the damages. That'll take us a week to remove and put back. And then we'll have 3 weeks of putting the floor back and 3 weeks of putting the wall covering back. Can't really give you set dates on that until we get the permit. Say that we get the permit today or tomorrow. We'll work through next week through Wednesday, and we'll be back on the week following Thanksgiving. We'll work through. We should be complete with
3 weeks, roughly close to the week before Christmas.
This may be an ignorant question, but it sounds to me like you said the sewer repairs are not substantial. It's just like a regular repair. Is
Correct.
that correct? And it seems to me like the rest of this is cosmetic.
Yes, sir.
Essentially. So why do we need a permit for all of that? Again,
City
ignorant question.
requirement. I've had asked the same question. I've actually talked with the city building official, and that's kind of where the clarification had to be made. It's a dollar amount issue for the city. Anything over $50,000, they require a permit and drawings. For this particular project, there are no drawings. We're changing flooring and we're changing wall coverings. You'd be very hard pressed to get drawings. So we've just kind of had to work out the details and let them know what we're doing. File the paperwork to let them know, and now it's just a waiting game. They've been really good working with us. I don't see it taking more than a few more days to have this all taken care of. It has slowed us down. We didn't anticipate, normally, we just get a general building permit, just to cover all the bases. I think what threw this one off is they saw the sewer line in there, and it raised red flags and kind of got us screwed from where it needed to be. So we've got all that taken care of. And again, our plumber is still going to have to go in and get a permit for his part. That's with any plumbing work. So after explaining all that to them, getting all the detailed answers they need, we should be good to move forward.
I would assume you guys know somebody down there that could help with permit, right?
It really didn't come at a bad time, being the next week's a holiday.
Right.
We're only going to lose 3 days max of work. We've done as much as we can until then. And then we're waiting for material as well. So our wall coverings are a week out, so we can't even do anything with those until then. And our floor guy's he's on standby waiting until we give him the go-ahead to start with the flooring. So, any other questions, concerns?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the update, please. Next is consideration for future agenda items. I know said that we had a meeting to discuss fees.
Yes, sir.
Will that be something that we're going to bring forward later?
Yeah, we're going to come back to the fee schedule as well to discuss more. We did have a meeting with, Dale was there, and
Karen.
Karen was there, that's right. And we did discuss some fees. There were some changes that we did that we would like to see proposed. And we're going to bring that forward to you all coming up. But it's not time for us with finance to discuss the fee schedule and stuff too as well. So I'm trying to keep it as well on time with them. We're also, of course, we're working on the convention center project right now. River Stage improvements, we've been having discussions on it. Before I bring that to our committee, I want to make sure that city staff is taken care of first before we bring it to the committee, and then we'll present that moving forward. I'm sure in December sometime we'll have some type of meeting to be able to discuss that. Still need to discuss the Paseo as well. That's another committee that we still need to have meet and discuss that.
And were we going to discuss having meetings every other meeting versus quarterly?
Yes. So we can bring that probably at the beginning of, bringing it in January, and maybe in the next meeting that we have, we can all decide on some dates first that we're going to meet on, and then see if we can add additional meetings as well, if we need to discuss any items further than that.
In the bylaws, it says that you can have a meeting every month.
No, that changed.
And they change.
It has to be,
yeah.
approved
Bylaws
by
has it.
city manager to have anything outside of our quarterly. It's
So
doable.
Which I don't
bylaws
think-
that we
yes.
have are no good.
Yeah, so it'll change. Like you said, city management will allow us. I think we did ask for that before on one of our meetings previously. That we did have city management did allow us to meet up together, because we would do our facility walkthroughs, and of course that's considered a meeting. So I did have to just go through and just make sure that we follow the right guidelines to be able to still host those meetings. But we're talking about internal meetings in this area. And again, I just want to clarify, just make sure if we do for more than that, just make sure that we have something that's on the table to really discuss. I don't like getting this all together just to have a meeting to talk about the same improvements and we're still waiting on something. Most of those things can be done through an email to you all. So like right now, we're at a standstill with the renovations, and we're working on the river stage stuff, but it's a process that we're moving through. We're still going to be able to bring that forward to our committee, and then once the committee meets on that, then we'll bring that to our board, and it'll just make our agenda a lot better to have at that time to discuss it.
Can we propose an agenda item to be placed on the next agenda? And then if you'll bring a timeline of things that typically need to be approved throughout the year, and then maybe we can decide if 4 is sufficient, or if we need to add 2 more, maybe we talk about dates. If we need 8, I agree, let's not have them just to have them. But maybe we need more than 4. And if we present that with some justification to council, maybe they'll say, okay.
Also, remember, that's the reason why we did the committees, because the committees are meeting to discuss fee schedule. Committees are meeting to discuss the river stage improvements. So once we meet as the committee, those 4 meetings should be discussing those items that we actually met about. So if we need to do 1 or 2 others, but I personally, having 12 meetings and there's no reason for that. I'm just being honest to the board. That's a little bit more overkill.
Making the dates
Yeah.
significant with, with major things that are going on throughout the.
Exactly. And we'll review the policies haven't been reviewed, and we've done that as a city staff, so we've already done the policy side of it. It's just setting it up with you all to discuss those and then bringing those forward to city council, hopefully by first quarter of the year, 23.
I failed to do one thing after discussion of the Bly Arena, the July 3rd Convention Center, all of them, everything. I failed to ask for public comment. So is anybody willing to, does anybody have public comment about anything that we discussed during this time?
About that either.
Nope, I guess we don't.
I think you have to have public for that, though, don't you?
I guess we
Staff,
don't
do
have
y'all
a
got
public.
something to say?
Anyway, if with that said, I call for adjournment. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Everybody second.
So we probably do need new bylaws.
Are you gonna take this with you?
I was.
That was the Blue Society.